I talk about the struggles and the ups and downs, and how I went from having what appeared to be everything to being 40 years old and broke, three young kids, didn't have enough money to get groceries, and having to reinvent myself all over. And that was a really scary time in my life. I talk about that and how I'm now 57 years old and I feel like I'm just getting started, and how life is really a journey, and it doesn't have to you don't have to have it all figured out by a certain age. And for a long time that's kind of how I felt. I thought, oh, if I don't have it figured out by 40, then it's over, and that's just not the case. I feel like I'm still learning and growing at 57. It's just getting started. That was kind of a soapbox.
Hey,
You're
well,
like, yeah, we
what are
just
podcasts if they're
wanted
not digital soapboxes?
an
That's all podcasts are, digital soapboxes. So
totally.
I'm totally fine with you getting on that at any time
Totally.
you need to, right?
Okay.
Um, so I think the last piece you said there is really interesting to me because I don't think there is an it. We constantly grow up with this idea that there's going to be an age, there's going to be a moment, there's going to be an activity where we figure out it. That whole idea of it. I don't think that exists. I think the thing that we realize at some point in life is that it is always adopting. There's always something we're looking forward to. There's always something we're looking to learn, but it never stays static unless you're like a very, very, I don't want to say boring necessarily, but I think that's how I conceptualize it. But like, unless you're a person who just has one thing that you always focus on, which I just don't think is anybody really that I've ever met, I don't think you ever figure it out. You just constantly keep moving the bar. You get 2 plus 2. Now I want to know what 4 plus 4 is. I want to know what 6 plus 6 is. You just keep moving it further and further out, and that's I think the beauty of life is that you never really stop learning. I don't think
It's
there's going to be a day where I wake up and I'm just know everything and I'm done with learning anything.
Oh, really? Because you know what? I woke up today and I was like, hey, I got it. I get it.
Exactly.
I got it. It's all good now. It all just worked out. I woke up and it's like the message was clear and I have nothing else to learn or discover. All good. No, that doesn't happen. And so I think what you said earlier, just what you said before about boring is so true because there are some people that go through life, they go to work every day, they bring in a decent living, they maybe do the 1, 2 vacations a year. They don't really grow because they've got it all figured out. What they're doing is working until something falls apart. And then all of a sudden,
Hmm.
that that safe life, that secure, even life, all of a sudden falls apart. And then it's like it forces that person into a growth pattern. And so something that I say quite often is that people say, "Oh my god, it must be so great, to have, people always look at the success, right? They don't know the what happens in the dark,
Yep.
the
Yeah.
journey to get to the success." And I say to people all the time, just remember this, that your growth spiritually and emotionally will take place in the darkest failures. When you're on your knees thinking, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I just don't know. I don't have a clear vision yet, and this seems really hard. I just know that that's where the most growth took place for me personally. It wasn't in the success. It was in my darkest failures. It was in the times when I literally thought, I don't think I could take another breath of air. I don't know. How did I end up like this with no money, 3 kids, divorced, on my own, no support? Like, what happened? And that's when the growth took place, not when everything looked good and I look successful and I'm on the cover of a magazine and doing well financially. Those were not growth periods in my life. The growth took place when I was on my knees, you know?
Hmm.
So, and people say, well, if you could go back and tell your younger self something, right? That's always a question that people come up with. And I find it interesting because really, at 57 years old, this journey has taught me that I'm not in charge. I'm really not in charge. I could just do the next right thing. I can get up. I can do what's in front of me. I can be positive and put it out in the universe. What it is I really want to manifest. I can visualize. I can do all that work. And I still have growth and learning at 57. Nothing, it never ends. There's always curiosity, there's always growth, there's always learning. It's never over. That part that's what I would go back and tell my younger self is that you don't have it all figured out. And guess what? Your biggest growth is going to come in your 40s and 50s. That's when you're going to really understand it and you're going to wish you would have listened to somebody in your 20s that was trying to tell you, but you thought you knew it all. That would probably be the
Mhm.
message that I would give myself, if I were to go back and talk to my younger self that thought I had it all figured out because everything looked like it was working, you know?
Yeah. I can't even imagine trying to talk to my younger self. That guy was an idiot. But I think one of the things you said about it never being over, for me, the people's reaction to that phrase about it never being over tells you what kind of person they are and really what kind of life they may build for themselves. Because some people will hear that and be
Yeah.
terrified that all they want is it for it to be over. They just want that level of comfort where nothing is growing, where there's no change, where there's no real learning and stuff. They just have reliability, if you will, right? Safety, even. And then there's other people who hear that and go, "Thank God," because the one of the greatest fears for a lot of people, and I probably would include myself in these that set of people, is that at some point I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna be there. You know, whatever there is, whatever financial picture that is, whatever house that is, whatever location, whatever there is, and it's just gonna be it. Like there's nothing else to go for. There's no other growth. There's no other learning. There's no other waking up
Yeah.
excited about the challenges ahead, right? And for somebody like me, that's basically death, right? So I
Well,
think that
yeah.
hearing, yeah,
Exactly. If you don't have challenges, if you don't have problems, that's a problem, you
absolutely,
know?
but that's what I think a lot of people, especially because it's pitched to us on either TV or books or whatever, is we're working towards not having to work towards anything, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the idea they keep trying to sell people. They keep trying to say, work your 40, 50, 60 years, whatever it is, and get your gold watch and retire. And for a lot of, if there's any younger listeners, they probably don't understand that reference, but that's what the goal was for so many years for so many people, the white picket fence and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that none of those things have value. Let me be clear about that. I'm just saying that there should always be something pushing you forward. For some people, it's their children. It's teaching, their children, the next generation, even different skills that they learn. It's passing on that experience. It's going out there and making a contribution to people who haven't been as fortunate as yourself. Whatever the thing is for different people, there's always the next thing. And if that scares you, then I would definitely recommend talking to somebody about that and saying, hey, why am I so scared that the fact that I'm going to constantly be growing and there's going to constantly be things ahead of me? Why am I so looking forward to a life of comfort to the point where there's no more growth left for me?
Absolutely. I would say that first of all, if it scares you, you're probably doing the right thing.
Mhm.
That's part of the growth is, I'm doing stuff right now that's scaring me to death because I'm like, "Oh my god, should I be doing this at 57? Should I be taking this risk?" And the other thing is the the thing I've really learned is that if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room.
Oh my God. Thank you. Yes, yes. I've told myself that for so many years. I never want to be in a room for too long where everybody's looking up to me.
Absolutely. That's not a good place to be. And I thrive on new information, on growth. It's probably why I've spent so much time going to things like Tony Robbins and going on Richard Branson leadership trips and going on relationship trips to learn more about relationships and how men and women think and why I go on, when I go hear Joseph McClendon speak and there's so many people in my life like that where you go and you want to keep hearing things that make your mind go, "Wait, what? Could you repeat that?"
Mhm.
Because, the last thing I want is for my brain to be comfortable. I don't want to I don't want my brain to go, okay, we got it, and stop growing. That the one muscle and organ in my body that I want to keep having it be stimulated is my brain, and I want to be able to go into my later years with that openness and willingness to continue to learn and grow. Even when I'm 70, they're still going to think the world is changing so fast. Every day there's something new being introduced. It's rapid change. And I want to go into my later years willing and open to learn and not be so set in my ways. Like I kind of caught myself 3 years ago. I was like, I'm really comfortable. Right? That's an interesting word. I'm really comfortable. I have money. I can pay my monthly. That was a big thing for me. If you could pay your monthly life.
Hmm.
And that's when I started on this growth journey. I was like, I'm getting too comfortable. I need to learn something new. And and that's kind of when I started putting myself in uncomfortable places and meeting people and putting myself in proximity of people that were so much smarter than me and that had something to teach me. And it was, it that to me is gratitude. That's a gift, when you can be in a room where people are actually talking and you're learning and growing. And it's intimidating, but it's so worth it. It's like, and I'm at a place too now where I'm a little more secure in my skin, where I can say, I'm so sorry. I have no idea. If you could explain that to me as if I was in kindergarten, I really want to understand. And people who are really kind and generous, they love that when you're really authentic and you just say, I really don't understand that. Could you explain it to me so I can understand it? And that's where growth takes place, when you're able to be open like that and not think you know everything.
Thanks for checking out Starting Nowhere. Come find us on Facebook so you can comment on this and other clips and episodes of Starting Nowhere.